Okay, so this is episode 1, part B. So in this episode, we're going to work through the element selector and work out how pages are constructed, how sections are constructed, how we can learn from that and recreate that if we want to. I'm just going to look at the Elementor homepage. And if we look at this here, we've got a purple background here with some heading text, a bit of copy, a button, a link. We've got something here, which could be a video, could be a lottie, could be a lot of different things. We don't know that. And that overlaps the purple section here. We're going to recreate this. I'm not going to use a video because I don't have one. I'm just going to use an image to demonstrate this. Underneath this image, we've got 3 columns here. Now, I've looked at this before, and this is not done with columns. So we want to look at how they've done that. Skip over the basic stuff here. This is just the typical tabs, typical stuff here. Then we're going to look at how did we get these circle backgrounds here on a section. We'll look at a couple of little things, like simple things like how was this image created with the ellipse around it and little tag there. Now, you would think this would be done with a mask. In this case, it's not, and we're going to look at why that is and how we can figure that out. So the other little thing I'm going to look at here is this animation down here. Now, there's been a lot done recently with lotties. Elementor use that fairly extensively throughout their site. A lot of pages use lotties. I think they're great. I think they're overused, and it does add a fair bit of JavaScript to your page, and I question the value that it adds to the animation unless you're going to do something pretty flashy with it. We're going to look at those few things. I might actually then, if I've got time, look at how this section here is done, where we've got 2 boxes here and we've got an overlay image in the background here. I'm just going to take this up to full screen, so we've got a little more to work with. And then over in my dev site, I've just created a empty scratch page. I've zoomed in a fair bit here so that we can see what's going on. So let's head over to the Elementor page and have a look first at how these sections are created. So I'm going to bring up my dev tools with F12, zoom in a little bit on the dev tool, so Control+ can zoom in on there. You don't need to, I'm only doing that because of the video. It's a bit easier for you guys to read. The first thing I want to do is select our element selector over on the left hand side here and point at this section over here. Now, in the DOM view, you can see I'm on the section wrap. The section wrap is the very top level under your body. So we've got a header, a page type being a post, and then we've got a Elementor section wrap, which is what wraps all of your Elementor content. Underneath that, we've got our first section that I can either select through clicking on this DOM, or I can use the selector here and click on that. So there we are there in this first section. So what I look at here is on the right hand side here, I've got some CSS rules. I've got a bunch of CSS rules, which can be a little bit difficult to work through. So I'm going to just bring that up a little bit and bring up my computed styles. One of the coolest things here with the computer styles is this graphic here where it shows you exactly what your margins, borders, padding, etc. are. So straight away, I'm seeing a negative margin of 249 on the section, and I know that's what's actually being done to bring this, whatever it is, whether it's a video or an image or whatever it is, up into that section. So let's start with that. So let's start with a new section. We're going to put a padding on the top at 148, bottom of 321, and 24 on the side. So 148, 321. So add a new section. Go into my advanced, negative margin, the bottom of 341, I think it was. One of the quirky things with this editor is that you can't put a minus on until you've actually typed some digits. So if you want to put 341, you've got to type 341 in and then put the minus in. So let's just say 148 by 24. 24, oops, and unlock's not on. 24, 24, I can't remember what the bottom one was. at 321 and 249. Okay, those are run the wrong way. That's 341, and that's minus 249. Okay, so that's our section there. I might actually just leave that off for the moment because it's pushing out our, what's this here? Oh, 24. Wonder. I'll leave out this negative margin here at the moment because it's actually, I'll put it back in. 341. 249. 249 minus. And I can't see the section now, so I'm going to actually just take that out for the moment so I can get some content in there. All right, so heading back over here, we can see that it's got a background color of this color here. So let's just copy that. Back to our section here, style. I set our background color to be that purple. What else have we got? We've got, all this looks pretty typical. I'm not going to worry about the font because I don't have this font, so I'm just going to use a standard font that I've got. What else have we got set here? So looking at all this, this all looks pretty standard, so I'm not going to do any more with that section. But let's have a look at what's in the section. So if I can do this a couple of ways. I can expand the DOM out and step through the DOM. So if I go first here to a column, no gap. So we need to select our column, tell it we've got no gap. Whoops. Sorry, that goes on the section. I forgot about that. So when you apply no gap, columns no gap to the section, it applies it to all the columns underneath it. Okay. So what else have we got? There we go, the column no gap. Anything else on here? We've got a max width of 770. So to set that, we need to set our box width here to 770. Anything else we can see on there? These will be auto calculated because it's when you set a width here, it'll auto calculate the margins on the sides. We don't need to worry about that. Okay, there's pretty much nothing else I need to worry about there. Expand that out again, go to the column. So it's got the col 100, that's a 100% wide column, so it's a single column. It's got the element or unique ID it's given to this column. What else have we got on this column? Nothing. 770, it's inheriting from above, it's got 100%. So because we've set the column width above, sorry, the box width above, and the width of the column by default here is 100%. That's all fine, so we don't need to do anything with that. Go to next one down. Now, this is just a wrapper that's always put on a widget. The next one down, and we can see our elemental element, which is elemental widget heading. So this bit here, every widget it adds to the DOM has elemental dash widget dash then whatever the heading, whatever the widget is. So in this case, we know it's a heading. So let's head back over to our editor and grab a heading. Let's get in there. Copy this text and put that in the heading. All right, now a few other things we can see here is that this is center aligned. Now, where is that center align coming from? So hit text align center, so it's on the widget. Go back to this widget and we'll select that as center aligned. We could also go in here and change our sizes and fonts and all that sort of stuff. I'm not going to do that here. What else have we got? Everything else looks pretty straightforward. Nothing flashy there. So that's our widget container. We can see that it's got a, where are we, computed, margin of 24 at the bottom. Okay, I would say they've probably set the global in here. So we go to the site settings. Where are we? Layout. I would suggest they've probably set this widget spacing to 24 as a global setting. Can't imagine why you'd have it differently on different ones, but I'm just going to leave it on the default 20. Okay, so if we go, we can either use this element selector and go, what is that? Or we can just move down the DOM till we get to it. In this case, it's selected the paragraph. Move up the DOM until we find the element. In this case, it's an Elementor widget text editor. So I'm going to just copy this text. Oops. Grab a text editor, drop it in there. Now, when I copy from a website or a Word or Pages document, anything like that, I've found that if you paste into the visual editor over here, it always gets messed up. It picks up styling, etc., from where you've copied it from. If you go to the text editor and paste it in here, for some reason Elementor does not apply when you've got new lines with a space like that. It just doesn't apply them correctly. So what I've found is that you're best to go into the visual editor, enable paste as text, and paste it into there. And then it's just plain text with no special things. If there are new lines, they seem to convert to paragraphs correctly. So don't know why, but that's just what I found that works. So again, it's text that's center aligned. So where is the center aligned? Is it text align center? So it's on the widget. So we can either do it, in this case, we can either do it from there, or because this one's done on the widget, we can go to the style and tell it to align to the center. So that's copying what Elementor have done with theirs. Okay, then we've got a button. That's pretty obvious, but let's just grab our selector and point at it. Up the DOM, Elementor element. Where are we? Elementor widget button. We know it's a button. You could style things, links, whatever, however you like. So this just tells us they've actually used an Elementor button. I'm going to grab a button. Okay, below there. Going to center that because that's pretty obvious that they've centered that. Now, I'm not going to worry about the colors of the styles on this. We could check what these styles are here. Quite simply, look at this class here. We see our background color is an RGB 146059. Borders, we can actually replicate that. I would tend to more put that into your global settings. So I'm not going to edit it here. If that's the kind of button you want, you don't want different styles of buttons used on different parts of your site. So I would go into the Elementor site settings, go into your buttons and style it there. So I'm just going to leave it as it is for now. So this line of text down here, again, if we go up the DOM, we can see again, it's a text widget text editor. Okay, so I'm just going to grab that copy that, and get another text editor in there. Going on. And Elementor's doing some funny things here, so I'm just going to control it, just do an F5 on that. And from time to time, these little weird things will happen when you're using drag and drop. And if you just press F, save your settings, press an F5, go back to it, drag another one in, work that time. All right, so we're going again, paste as plain text, put it in there, set our style to be the center, seems to be the way they've done it. I'm going to head back over to this here. I'm going to then point at that, right click on the link. I'm going to copy the link address. I'm going to then come back over to here and make that a, where's my link? Going blind, there we go. And I'm going to paste that link in there. Okay, so now I have a try the free edition link in my text editor. I could do some styling here as well. I could make this underlined, etc. like it is on here, change the colors. I'm not going to bother. This is really just about figuring out the layout. So that looks like when I get to here, that's my last element there. looks like that is the last element in that section. If I just do a little bit more of the screen, if I go down below that and I go to the div, showing me that section, that's pretty much where that ends. So we've got another section here, the next section down. So what I'm going to do is create another section, and it might get a bit tricky. Actually, I haven't done the negative margin on this because I don't want to mess up our editor. I'm just going to add another section in here and go back over here and find out what properties have we got on this. Yeah. So we haven't got a width set because that's great. It's grayed out. We've got pretty much nothing set on that section. Padding is the default 24. It would have been set as the global. We can change that if we want to. So let's go into that section. So what's under that? Our container. Again, it's a column, no gap. Go back to our section and tell that we want to be columns, no gap. And then we'll come down to expand on our DOM there, and we've got a column 100, which is a 100% wide column. And on that, we've got no padding. So we might actually go to that column, just set the padding on that to 0, just to be sure that there's no padding. And inside that column, we've got another wrap for a widget. Inside there, we've got a Elementor widget video. Okay. So I'm not going to use a video. I'm just going to use a image widget in this case. Okay, I'm just going to pick a graphic that I've got here, maybe this car, insert that. Okay, now what I'm going to do is go back to this first section. I'm going to put that negative margin on there that we wanted previously. Back to here, very advanced, 241, and then the minus. And that's pulled that car up into there. Now, this isn't exactly correct. So it's actually going to do a 1024 wide image. So what I'm going to do is just tell it to make that 100% wide, fill the space, so that we can work with what we've actually got on this page. So what we're seeing here is that section, we've got some width somewhere. We need to find out where that is. So let's have a look at, go back up to our section. And our width is 1903, column 1604. Okay, column there, width is 100%. Where are we getting our 1604 from? That section here. Collapse this other section again. Where are we? Section here. This is a separate section, and we've only got a width of 1855. Sorry, that is 1855 wide. Go down to the column. That's 1604. Looks like the, oh, there we go. It's got a max width. I get confused sometimes between the width and the max width and the settings where they've been set. So you could set that, that's been set on the column. I don't actually agree with doing it that way because everything else underneath there all lines up with that section. So I would not have done it that way. There is no way you can have a 100% wide column, sorry, one column, and set the width to 100%, sorry, to a to pixels in here. It's always a percentage unless you do custom CSS. So I would suggest that this is either a different version of Elementor or they've set that using custom CSS. So what I would probably do is go look at, well, the whole lot of this is the same width. So I'd go up the DOM a little bit to the section. And the section we want is there, and then the finding the width, column 1064. Go up to the actual section and set the width of that to 1064. Okay, so now that looks right. Okay, so that would be a video widget, but we've just got an image in there and it's set to 1064 wide. I might just zoom back out. You can see how it looks actually at that width. I'm zoomed in the editor so we can see. So I'm just going to zoom out because that looked quite a bit different to what we see in the width there. When I'm zoomed to 100% in the editor, it's a similar sort of a width as you can see there. Okay, so what else have we got? If we look at the widget there for the video, expand on that, move our mouse around. If we point over this widget container here for the, what is it? I don't even know what this is. Hosted video. There we go. When we click on that, we can see we've got some margin of 64 at the bottom. We can translate that to our image simply by going to our image and in the advanced margin, bottom 64. Okay. Now let's have a look at these here. Click on one of those titles there, the live drag and drop editor. Selects the title, we move up through the DOM, find the element, and this is a Elemental widget image box. And if we look at the settings here, we can see it's set to 304 pixels wide. So let's grab an image box. We're going to set the width on the advanced to custom and make that pixels 304. Okay, so an easy way to do this, we've got 3 of those. I'm going to right click and duplicate that. Right click and duplicate again. Now you can see in here, these are all lining up against each other. So we need to figure out how they've done that spacing. If I point at these, I can't see any margin. So margin will show up as orange, padding will show up as green. This purple color with the diagonal lines is spacing. So that's your clue. So this is being applied using flex spacing. So let's look further up there. So if I go to just one of these, I go a bit further up, and we know that generally the spacing is done, or the layout is done on the columns. Let's keep going up till we get to column. Get our column there. We have a look in here on the wrapper. We can see the justified content is set to space between. So when you apply settings to the column in the editor, most of those settings actually get applied to this next DOM element down, which is the widget wrap. So what we need to do is go back to our column. We need to set our horizontal align to space between. Now we've got the spacing that we wanted from here. So that's pretty much how we'd work through and figure this out. I haven't gone perfectly with the font sizes and all that sort of stuff, but this is basically nutting out how someone else has done this. All right, let's move on. So this here is typical headings and text. This is a typical tab widget with images in the copy. So we're not going to go through that. That's pretty easy to follow. Again, this is the icon box widgets. Same deal. If we go up the DOM here, further up the DOM, there, point of that, the purple with the lines indicates that it's spacing, it's not margin. It should be orange, it's not padding, which should be green. It is spacing, so we need to look at our flex properties. Okay, so what we're going to do is go down to this box here. Again, we need another section, so I'm just going to go back and add a section down here. Section there, and we have a color of the same color as we had in the other one. Generally, it's set this as your globals. Oh, in this case, they've actually used the global, and the other one they didn't. Copy that. Set my background. This purple color. All right, what else do we know about this? pop up. What just came up there? Doing F5. I might have clicked on something that brought up there. So we want to replicate this. So let's go back to have a look at that section. As I point at it, I've got some padding at the top there. So have a look at the section here that's selected, executed. But padding at 96 at the top, 96 at the bottom. All right, easy. So let's go to that section, padding, 96, 96, padding there. We've got a this is a call to action box here. If we go up the DOM here, we see that as actually a elemental widget, elemental widget call to action. So let's head over to our editor, find the call to action. Okay. Now in here we do get some clues as to how this has been set. So it's set to the skin classic. Let's have a look at the skins. So it's on the skin of classic. It has line self set to center. Let's see if we got any properties in here. You set that. Skin center. Okay, looks like we don't have a image, so we can get rid of the image. That. We don't have a background. Let's have a look on here. Here's our background. Container. Background, background, background. Looking for my background. Here we go. That's a very strange color to have. I'd say it's more likely to be completely transparent. That's actually on the CTA content. If we come back over to our style, go to the content, we set the background color to be 100% transparent. Oh, that's interesting. So unless we go all the way to black over here, it can be whatever we want over there. As you see this number changing, as long as it's fully transparent. I normally like keeping everything on 0 for transparent. So we're starting to look something like it. We've got a, what is this here? Let's click on that and select it. So it's the ribbon. Like that. Ribbon, ribbon, ribbon. Box. Content. Ribbon. Title. There we go. So we got a ribbon title there. And we don't see a ribbon for some reason. I'm not sure why that is. Go into here, ribbon. Make that black. Not actually sure why it's not showing me the ribbon here. Let's try a secondary color. All right, not sure if this is a bug or why it shows there. There might be some thing you have to do with this. I'm not sure. Anyway, so the ribbon's not working here. We'd need to figure that out. Let's go back to that because that's going to waste time. So we've got a content title. Content title. And look, we see how much wider we are than what's here. So we need to figure out why that is as well. Go to what's this bit here. Description. The description there. Let's head back up this DOM a little bit. find out what's going on here. We're looking for a width of 100% there. Inside this content block, got a width of 730 set on it. So that's actually on the widget. Let's go to the advanced width, custom 730. 30 pixels. That looks more like it. Now I'd also say to center this, because we're setting the width on it, pretty much know that it's going to be on the section here where we, on the column, set the horizontal line to center, and that's going to put it there. I just know this. You do this enough times and you don't have to figure out what's going on here. You just change it there. Okay, styling again, I'm not going to worry about the actual fonts and colors and button styles. This is just the concept of it. All right, so that's pretty much that call to action done. We've got something else funky going on here. These lines, where are we getting those lines from? We look at the section here, go down to this section here, we've got a background image on it. I can see that over on the right hand side on the computer. See this background image here? I might actually open that in a new tab and download this. We can do this a couple of ways. That's actually done as an SVG. Going to press F12 here, sorry, F11. And that's actually opened it as a embedded SVG, which is why we can't see it. So I'm going to copy the SVG. So there's my SVG, control copy, and head it back over to my editor. Where's my editor gone? There. Go to my section, and in my style, background, it's actually not letting me put in an image as an SVG there. So I would say I'm going to have to save that as an SVG. Let me just save that. Save that. You also use text boxes, HTML boxes for these SVGs. File, save as. I'm going to put that just in my downloads and call that circle SVG. All right, so now I'm going to upload this. Select it for my downloads, circle SVG. Name that SVG. Select that, open that. Put that. Now there's our background. Not quite looking how we want it. So let's look at how that's set. We've got the background position is, I would say this is center. The background sizing is default, hasn't been changed. So let's go back to here, position, center, and that's put our image there. I'd say we don't want to repeat it. And that's pretty much what we've got. We can set this to cover, can set this to contain, if we want it to contain within the dimension. So this is actually scaled it vertically to fit, or if it's wider, it'll scale wider to fit. Cover will make it scale as the screen width changes. In their case, I think I've just got it set to default, so it'll be whatever the actual size the SVG was uploaded. So as I move this, it doesn't move at all, doesn't scale at all. Okay, let's check on theirs actually. Let's just bring this up here. I'm going to use the device toolbar and set this to responsive. In responsive mode, the actual background's disappeared. Yep, so the background's just sort of sitting in the center. It's not changing, so it's not set to cover. So that's pretty much that done. All right, now what we're not taking into account, we're just doing this in the desktop view, I should mention. You also need to look at what happens when you go to a tablet view. So if I went to an iPad here and 100%, does any of this change? Do any of these properties change? And you need to account for that in your responsive settings over here. So for example, that background disappeared when we had it on, what was it? Look here. It's okay, it looks like it's okay in tablet view. Keep going. In mobile view, the background disappeared. So what we do over here is we go to image in mobile view and we want to get rid of it. It doesn't look like we can just get rid of it here, or can we? No, so we'd have to replace it with maybe just an empty image, or you can do some custom CSS if you wanted to. I'm not going to bother with that. Actually, it looks like it's disappeared there anyway. It is, because it's too big, so it's not disappearing. I think the inner circle is too big for mobile. So there's something interesting we just learned about it then. Whereas if that was set to cover, it would actually change. Let's just do that actually. So if I set that to cover, all right, now I look at the tablet view, see it's made it smaller because it's fitting in there. Set it to mobile view, it's made it fit within the width and height there as well. So you can do it that way as well. If you wanted it different, set it back to default. Okay, one last thing I'm going to look at is, or two last things, sorry, this is a really simple one. So if I click on the element selector and then look at this image here, point my mouse at it, I can see that's just an image. There's no special masking. I've just created a image with transparency and put this little web expert tag on it. It's as simple as that. You can do the same thing if you wanted to. Okay, the last one we're going to look at is this over here, information. Find out what that is. So we use our selector again, point at this. What is that? It's just a PNG image. That's all that is. It's just a straight out background. Want to see what it is? You can right click on it, open it up in a new tab. That's pretty much what that image is. Okay, so what about this moving bit? Point our mouse at that. So we've got an SVG, which would be an icon. And what they've done here, if we go up the wrapper, where are we? Wrap. Go to the column, widget, another widget, and then another widget under here. We have a look at this. It's an Elementor widget icon. So all we've done is added a Elementor widget icon, and they have a motion effect on there. I'm not sure how that works, because I don't see any of the motion effects that Elementor have that are continuous. So it might be a feature that they haven't released, or it could be that they've just got a custom CSS effect on that. So you would think this might be a lottie, but if you start pulling it apart, you can see it's just a background image and an icon that's placed. Have a look here. There's our animation. Where's the placement? Let's actually go back up there to the widget. Go there. Oops, this keeps changing. Position absolute. So they've absolutely positioned that within the column, and then just positioned it to be up near this person's head. So very, very simple. Nothing complicated about that at all. So we've just figured out that as well. We could easily do. I'm not going to replicate that here. All right, I am going to just quickly look at this last one and see how this is built. So again, selector. What we got? A section here. There's our section. Anything special about the section? Yep, we've got that image on the right hand side there. So let's have a look at what that is. So basically it's got the background position of 50 VW, 157 pixels. It's 50 VW across, so it's 50% across the screen, and then 177 pixels from the top. is where it's going to put that. That's easy enough. And then what else have we got inside there? We've got our container, which is max width of 1280. So it's a no gap, another no gap container. Inside our no gap container, we've got a column. Inside our column, we've got a inner element, which is a text heading. So that's this heading up here. Actually, we can again just select that by clicking at it, and it takes us to exactly the same place. And then we've got another section here, which is intersection, element or intersection. Okay, so effectively this image here is a background image on the section that's positioned 50% across the screen, 175 pixels, whatever it is, from the top of that section. Then we have an intersection here, which is, let's have a look, anything special about it? Okay, so they've set the width to 100%, so it's 100% of its section container. So again, to do that, you would go into your section layout and you'd set your width here. So in this case, it's 1280. Then inside that, we've got a container with a column, two columns there. First column just looks like a standard column with some content. The second column looks like it's got some special things about it. So it looks like we've actually got the inner part of it pushed across a little bit. So let's have a look at that. With intersection wrap, executed, intersection. So on that column in the intersection there, what we're doing is we're putting a 57 pixel margin on the left hand side. So standard intersection, column 2, left hand margin 57, to push that one across a bit. That's as simple as that. We don't need to recreate this because we know how that's being done. And then the rest of it's just standard content inside. So this is what you would work through. Let's say you look at something on a website and you go, how on earth have they done that? This Chrome tools with the Element Selector, clicking on that, clicking through your sections, your columns, your widgets, having a look at what's happening in the DOM, what rules are being applied over here, what sort of padding, margin, positioning, flex rules, all that sort of stuff. So a good thing to know is, like when I point at this, so I've got a 1280 pixel wide section there, a column I should say, and we've got an intersection over here. It's only taking up this much. The purple is showing us that's within that container, and that's spacing. The margin is when we point at this and we see the orange on the side. Padding is when we look at this. Actually, I might just put some padding on that so you can see what I'm talking about. If I go to the description, I put some padding on the top of, say, 40. Okay, then I point at there. See, I've got green. So your orange is margin, green is padding, and the purple is spacing. So when you see spacing, you're looking at flex mostly. When you see padding, you're looking at the containers, the columns, the widgets. When you see margin, containers, columns, or widgets. So that's a lot to cover in this space. So hopefully that's something that gives you a lot of insight into the value of these tools. I'm going to make one more video after this, which will be a lot quicker. I'm going to show some of the little cool little helpers that we've got in Google Chrome, like this color selector, where you can click on that. We can use it as a picker to pick colors. There's a few other really, really cool helpers that I'm just going to show you through. But yeah, so that's pretty much it for this episode. So that's episode 1B done.